Looking down on your opponents and seeing them as nothing and unworthy of respect has got to be one of anime's staple moments and character archetypes. Who doesn't like a competent character that doesn't stop beating their opponent in a way that humiliates them? After all, why show respect to those lesser than you? From main characters to straight up villains and antagonists, this sort of thing has something for everyone. So buckle up, because today we're looking at some of anime's most disrespectful moments. Starting our list of disrespect is Sasuke going up against Killer Bee. We're going to be talking about the walking diss track Killer Bee. With his easygoing and chill personality combined with his unorthodox way of fighting, he was quickly added to the Anime Hall of Fame with nothing else but swag alone. His battle against Sasuke was also a sight to behold, not only giving Sasuke a solid beatdown, shattering his confidence, but also rhyming at the same time. And don't even get me started at the moment he paused mid-fight and wrote down bars on his notebook while Sasuke was in front of him. I mean, that's a way to show your opponents that they're not a threat to you. His Sharingan didn't do much either. Killer Bee's weird fighting style and unpredictable way of fighting proved hard even for him to handle. All in all, if it wasn't for Sasuke's allies behind him, I think it's safe to say he wouldn't have made it into the sequel, especially when Killer Bee made a hole in his chest, damaging his organs, which could have been life-threatening if it wasn't for Jugo. Sasuke got humbled real quick. It doesn't help much either that he almost died on multiple occasions in this confrontation. It's best you don't mess with this guy while he's dropping bars. Next we have Gojo versus Jogo from Jujutsu Kaisen. If we're on the topic of disrespect, we can't just keep the overly confident Gojo out of this list.
Yeah.
He basically has everything that you need to qualify. His overwhelming amount of charisma and suave with the skills to back it up are just the perfect combination for a character that will certainly look down on you after a battle, literally and figuratively. Especially in his battle against Jogo, where this seemingly confident mountain head took on Gojo by himself. On the eve of the battle, the power difference was pretty apparent, with Gojo ragdolling Jogo around as if he was target practice. And if this isn't insulting enough, he also brought Itadori along so he could use his special grade curse opponent as a makeshift Jujutsu lesson. Gojo literally considered him too weak to be a threat and instead turned him into a PowerPoint presentation for domain expansions. He then proceeded to decapitate Jogo with his bare hands along with a psychotic smile on his face. I don't think he was bluffing when he said he could take on the King of Curses on his own and win, but can he? Well, in conclusion, Jogo went home only with his head intact but violated and embarrassed, so sounds about right. Now, one of Hunter x Hunter's iconic moments. We have two psychopaths pitted against each other, Killua versus John S. the Dissector. Following the path of majority rules during the third stage of the 287th Hunter exam, our merry band of characters found themselves going up against 5 criminals residing within the Trick Tower in a series of challenges. The last fight was then up to Killua, where he was pitted against John S. in a simple but straightforward challenge, a head-on death match. The fight was fast and it was awesome. In one of the coldest anime scenes of all time, all of John S.'s useless bragging didn't help him much as Killua lunges forward and plucks his heart out, even going as far as wrapping it up in a little bag. As the humbled killer stumbles and falls to the ground, Killua just nonchalantly hands him his heart back. He may be a murderous assassin psychopath, but he's our murderous assassin psychopath. There's not much to say about this fight, but you don't want to imagine a scenario where Killua was an antagonist.
Nani? お疲れ様です。
井の中の吠えし風よ。世の広さを知るがいい。鬼！
Moving on to the classics now, we have One Piece featuring Zoro versus Mihawk. Back when the series was just getting started, this fight was mind-blowing for everyone to watch. Zoro was established beforehand to be a very capable fighter, but the subsequent fight that follows really showed us how big the world of One Piece is, and how there's always a bigger fish out there. With his foreboding entrance to the scene with his dinghy boat, Zoro didn't waste any time and asked the renowned swordsman in a duel. The disrespect comes not from the fact that Zoro got bodied left, right and center, but with the fact that Mihawk did it using what's basically a butter knife, implying that Zoro isn't even worth the effort of him wielding his actual weapon.
生まれてきて すいません。
even going as far as apologizing for not having a smaller weapon. We're reaching higher levels of disrespect with this man, and all of his small talk was justifiable. If his title of strongest swordsman isn't evident enough, Mihawk, with no effort, single-handedly gave Zoro his most crushing defeat and his iconic scar.
生き急ぐな若き力よ
生まれてきてすみません。
おいナンバーワン手逆だっけ後出しで悪いんだけどさ
In the anime that has the most interesting fan base, we have Shigaraki, king of villains and decay against the #1 hero, Endeavor. At the height of the Paranormal Liberation War, the hype and scenes just kept on upping each other with scenarios and plot developments that just took us by surprise at times, but we're focusing on one singular scene here, and that was when Shigaraki faced off against Endeavor and Ryukyu, right after Shigaraki's awakening and his casual obliteration of a huge chunk of the city with his now evolved decay quirk. He decides to also obliterate Endeavor's pride after slamming him into the ground and making the same pose Endeavor did in Gyushu, and not only that, he openly mocked him. Even though there were multiple heroes in the scene and Eraserhead deactivated Shigaraki's quirk, it wasn't enough to stop this madman from humiliating the current #1 hero. Who could have known that this emo boy that just had too many hands gave the same level of disrespect he had when he was a kid? Now we're back at it again with the classics. We have Aizen versus Ichigo. On the eve of the battle, Ichigo assisted Renji in somehow immobilizing Aizen. They weren't even thinking about the possibility of them winning anymore. What matters is that they could escape. We also got the usual power-up scene with the theme music swelling up as Ichigo charges at Aizen, and just when his sword made contact, Aizen, without moving, with minimal effort at all, caught and stopped not only his sword, but also his theme music. Aizen didn't just flex and disrespect him by nonchalantly stopping his attack that the music hyped up so much, Aizen also copyright strikes that very same theme music, turning the scene dead silent as Ichigo was then struck by Aizen, fatally injuring him.
Oh God!
This type of stuff was really surprising, especially in the earlier days of anime due to how much it overthrew our expectations. Back then, this scene was really iconic and took many of the fans by surprise, and despite the passage of time and this scene still making it on the list, it just shows how much of a threat Aizen really is as he laid a solid groundwork for what he's capable of and what he'll become later on, all according to plan.
Oh yeah?
The resident mad lad and wild card himself, Yujiro Hanma. Alright, I have to be perfectly honest when it comes to Yujiro. He just steals every scene he's in whilst flipping the table on its head due to the fact that he'd just do the most outlandish and absurd thing and then just promptly leave as if nothing ever happened. And that's exactly what happened in this scene. It wasn't even that much of a fight, but more of a demonstration of power, if you like. As he shows up out of nowhere after Motobe and Yanagi conclude their fight, he walks up to Motobe, who was wielding a sword, and just casually starts breaking it bit by bit, slowly and menacingly. Imagine how demoralizing that must have been, just staring hopelessly as some behemoth of a man just slowly chips away at your weapon. He then proceeds to walk over to Yanagi as if he didn't just give someone the most terrifying moment in their life and promptly leaves. This is Yujiro Hanma's world, and we're just living in it. A short but sweet scene of Yujiro just showing everyone who's at the top of the food chain. I'm even willing to bet that the animators didn't even intend for him to be there, but Yujiro goes wherever he pleases and I'm not stopping him. Next up to take the stage in our list is the Night City boogeyman himself, Adam Smasher.
Rebecca!
Now, when it comes to disrespect, then he quite literally means it, for he thinks of flesh as weak and he sees you as nothing more than mere toys to break. That means he thinks of everyone lesser than him, not deserving of any form of respect. When David was going on a full rampage with his Sandovistan and the cyber skeleton that he plundered a while back, he was seemingly invincible. But being invincible isn't enough if you're taking on the Night City boogeyman. Adam embodies the disrespectful and despising persona down to a T. From his imposing and menacing figure to his hatred of fleshlings, he's the the complete package. The sole fact that he single-handedly destroyed the main cast's plot armor by killing not one but two major characters in the most humiliating and gruesome way just shows how much of a character this guy is. Rebecca was quite literally squished to red mist, and David was basically disassembled limb from limb using his bare hands. The full Borg, NC Boogeyman, Atom Smasher, the one guy you don't want to come across. Coming up next, we have the Bird of Hermes and Lord of Darkness himself, Alucard, and his poor victim, Luke Valentine. When the Valentine brothers launched a series of attacks on the Hellsing organization, Luke was ordered to take out Hellsing's most dangerous dog, Alucard. As the two vampires proceed to fight it out, Luke was getting a bit too cocky as he proclaimed to Alucard now he's superior to him and that he was specifically made to surpass and kill him. Now, that was kind of the case, seeing as he was clearly overpowering Alucard and effortlessly dodges all of Alucard's attacks. But one restriction removal scene later, and the anime suddenly changed its genre to horror, breaking Luke's fighting spirit as countless horrors protrude from Alucard's body, dismantling piece by piece, breaking not only his ego, but also his body. Here we have the Overlord and Overseer of Nazarick, Ainz going up against Foresight, a worker group that invaded Nazarick. Us viewers already 100% know what fate entails for this group of merry thieves as they were personally handled by Momonga himself. By that fact alone, we already know they're not making it out alive. The best thing they can hope for is to be taken as slaves and pets for the denizens of the Great Tomb. Back to the battle then, Momonga didn't even acknowledge his enemies, seeing as he faced them only using rudimentary weapons and basically zero armor, showing up to the battle basically topless as opposed to his endgame overpowered gear. Not only that, it wasn't mentioned in the anime, but apparently the collar he was wearing that one time was actually a limiter that increases EXP gained. However, it lowers the user stats. Not only did he put debuffs on himself, but he also wore low tier equipment. Ainz didn't stop there because he didn't just crush their morale, he also crushed their spirit by not even letting Arch, the mage of the group, escape. She was later killed with her body harvested for resources. The group also suffered the same gruesome fate as they were dealt with one by one, no mercy was spared, and no hope was given. Let this be a lesson that none survives intact after desecrating the Great Tomb of Nazarick. And that's the end of the video. Why don't you give me your pick of these moments? Are there any disrespectful scenes that you think are deserving to be on this list? Be sure to share your thoughts and I'll see you in the next video.